Good afternoon, everyone, or good morning, depending on where you're joining us from, and welcome to today's webinar, Ethical Trade and Responsible Sourcing in 2021. My name's Amy, and I'm a member of the marketing team here at Perry Johnson Registrars Food Safety, Inc. I'll be facilitating today's webinar and offering technical support to our speakers. Today, we're very excited to be welcoming two guests from BRCGS for the presentation, and I'll be introducing them to you all a little later on in the show. Before we get started, I just want to go over a few housekeeping notes. To ensure audio quality, all of our attendees are on mute. However, we do absolutely want to take any questions you might have. So to ask a question, you can just go ahead and type it into the questions tab of the GoToWebinar control panel on your screen and click send. We'll answer as many of these as we have time for at the end of the prepared slides, so feel free to send them in at any point throughout the presentation. You don't have to wait until we ask for Q&A. Some of the most frequent questions we get are, where can I get the slides, or will a recording be available? And the answer to those questions is, yes, the recording will be available from our YouTube channel. So feel free to share that link with anyone who couldn't attend, or if you want to share it with your team, please feel free to do so. We absolutely encourage it. And the slides are available for download from pjrfsi.com. And all of that is usually available within 24 to 48 hours after the completion of the broadcast. This is just a quick screenshot to show you what the questions tab might look like on your control panel. So you'll just open that up, type your question in and click send, and we will get it on our end, and hopefully we'll have a good answer for you. Before we get started today, though, we do have a quick polling question just to get to know our audience. And that polling question today is your organization currently certified to a GFSI standard? So just choose whichever option suits your reality best. Get some participation from the audience, and then we'll go on and introduce our first speaker for today. All right, looks like we're getting a great amount of participation. Thank you all so much. And here's how you all voted. So it looks like the majority of you are certified with someone, which is always great to see. So thank you for participating. I'm going to go ahead and introduce our first speaker for today, and that's Paul Demarin. He's the Senior Vice President of Food Safety and Supply Chain here at PJRFSI. Paul joined us in January of last year and has over 35 years of experience in the hospitality, service, and retail agri-food sectors. Paul's a board member of the OFPA, the Ontario Food Protection Association, as well as an advisory council member with the George Washington University School of Business for their digital marketing certificate program. Before he joined us at PJRFSI, Paul worked for 16 years in the certification industry with clients in every sector from food safety, supply chain, to brand protection and quality. Paul's worked for many years in management system certification as well. And before that, Paul was a professional chef and a consultant for over 20 years. So Paul, I'm going to hand things over to you, and you can go ahead and take it away whenever you're ready.
Great. Thank you very much, Amy. Thank you everyone for joining today. We really appreciate your time. And of course, we're very excited to be back into the swing of our new webinar schedule. We have a very busy 4.5 months still to go here before our summer break. And there's a lot to talk about today in our webinar as well. So I look forward to starting off by just giving you a very short overview of my company. And then I also have the pleasure of welcoming two very special guests who have seemed like old friends now with us here. And that is Jessica Burke and Paula Parejo from BRCGS, who will be talking about the ethical sourcing standard and several other things that are going to be very interesting to hear about. So thanks very much, Jess and Paula. Let's get started here. As you may know, we are a global certification body. We were originally founded 27 years ago in 1994 by Perry Johnson himself. And the business started as a management system certification body doing quality, environmental, health, and safety. They've been doing that for a long time. During that time as well, at the very beginning, they achieved their ANAB accreditation shortly after the creation of PJR, which is Perry Johnson Registrars. And then over the next 15 years, they expanded quite heavily overseas and opened up offices all around the world, like Germany, Portugal, Spain, Canada, Latin America, Thailand. During that time, they had also attained their UCAS accreditation and continued expanding in the UK and China during that time as well. We have several divisions of the Perry Johnson family of companies. PJR, as I mentioned, is the management system certification body. We have PJLA, which is Perry Johnson Laboratory Accreditation. They were founded in 1999 and accredit laboratories to ISO 17025. We have PJ&A that was founded in 2005, and they're a healthcare technology company. They do things like telemedicine and medical transcription services. In 2012 is when PJR FSI was born, and that was as a result of the demand in industry for third-party certification that was required at the time, thanks primarily to Walmart in the US starting it off and Loblaws in Canada. We're headquartered in Troy, Michigan. As I mentioned, we're a global company. Our services for PJR FSI, we have about 30 different programs that we support, everything from HACCP to GFSI, organic, gluten-free, cannabis, and hemp. We do social accountability and responsibility audits, as well as several government-recognized audits like FSMA and FSVP program. Now, we work with essentially, over the last 9 years, and have supported companies across all sectors within the industry. That includes retailers, farms, importers and exporters, distribution companies, just to name a few. And really our main goal is to work with them to manage their food safety, supply chain and quality requirements, as well as brand protection requirements. We're very committed here to provide our customers with the highest level of customer service and dedication, while at the same time upholding the standards of professionalism and technical competence to the standards that we audit. We are in about 60 countries. We have about 460 auditors across the globe who work with us and understand not only the regulations and requirements of those countries, but the language and equally important culture. We have an outstanding client attrition rate of 1.7% over the last 5 years, which is really unheard of in my opinion. So I'm extremely thrilled about that, and we continually receive a very high rating from our customers as well. Okay, so now just to talk a little bit about our programs, we essentially divide our services into 4 key areas: auditing and certification to accredited standards like BRCGS and many other GFSI standards, as well as that falls under the ISO side of the house as well for quality environmental management systems. That would be under third party. Second party auditing are unaccredited audits that we conduct for our customers and their supply chain that are standards we have written and developed, like a GMP audit or good distribution or HACCP. These are all standards that are essentially plug and play, and one of the main reasons our clients use this because there's not a lot of technical expertise that's required. We simply agree on a scheme and a standard and we move forward. We also do customer specific auditing, which is any audit program or protocol that our customers would have and would like to have us conduct the audits, usually because of travel. We have auditors around the world that speak the language, and as I mentioned, understand culture, can demonstrate cost savings. There's many reasons that our customers would use us for those programs. And finally, we offer training solutions, customized on-site training solutions for all of our customers and their standards as well. Now, this is just a bit of a different visual here. This is a snapshot, as I mentioned, of the many programs that we currently support on the food safety side of the house. We all know that there are many types of audits that are out there in the industry. Some are accredited, there's unaccredited, there's government regulated, retailer mandated. The list goes on and on. And we did talk about the difference between the first, second, and third party. We work with certain companies to do, different retail addendums like McDonald's SQMS program as an etc. And then we're also recognized to conduct various government audits and inspections like FSMA, FSVP, the VQIP program, which is Voluntary Qualified Importer Program, just to name a few. Moving on here, this is a list of long-standing relationships that we have with many accreditation bodies and scheme owners around the world, where we come and audit you as a certification body. Accreditation bodies and scheme owners come and audit us. to ensure that we're meeting the technical requirements of the scheme and those of it being a certified, an accredited certification body. And this really gives our customers assurance that the entire family of companies operate under the rules of accreditation and the scheme owner requirements, and helps us to maintain a high level of quality in our work. It's a significant investment that's made each year with each one of these logos, but at the end of the day, it gives our customers confidence that they're partnering with a recognized and respected certification body. So just finally here, to wrap up my portion, again, I wanted to thank you very much for your time today. I know we have a lot to get through with Jess and Paula. Hopefully it's going to be not too much longer before we can get back together and see each other face to face. I miss all your smiling faces, and I look forward to answering any other questions that you might have at the end of the webinar. So again, thank you very much, and back over to you, Amy.
Great, thanks so much, Paul. As Paul said, we're going to get right over to Paula and Jess, but really quick, I have another polling question for you all. And that polling question has to do with actually COVID-19. Has COVID-19 made an impact on your company culture, creating an interest in the ethical standard? And as I said before, just respond to this whichever response seems to suit you best. All responses are anonymous during the webinar, so vote however you please. And for those of you who might have joined us late, welcome. Thank you for coming. We do have a recording, and the slides will be available after the webinar has finished if you wanted to review anything or share it with someone who can't attend. So we'll just give it a few more seconds to get some more votes in. Thank you all for participating. All right. Thank you much. And it looks fairly split, so thank you again for participating in the poll. Move right along here to introduce our speakers. Paula Parejo is a marketing strategist at the BRCGS team. She graduated from the University of Waterloo in 2016 with a degree in psychology. And Paula has taken on the world of food safety to understand the needs of consumers, sites, and delivery partners by developing marketing materials and knowledge translation to increase communication between BRCGS and its customers and partners. Paula can always lend a helping hand with marketing initiatives at BRCGS. Jessica Burke has 18 years of experience and began her career in an environmental and food testing laboratory. But after that, she held various roles in quality assurance and food safety in the food manufacturing industry, where she helped multiple companies strengthen their food safety systems and achieve GFSI certification. Jessica has held multiple roles within BRCGS, including technical specialist for the gluten-free certification program and plant-based global standard, and senior technical manager for the Americas region. In her current position as Delivery Partners Relationship Manager, her role is to support BRCGS delivery partners in delivering world-class service through collaboration, facilitation, and technical education. Jessica, Paula, welcome, and thank you for coming to present for us today.
Thank you so much, Amy and Paul both. We're extremely excited to be here today to get into our ethical trade and responsible sourcing standard. So this is Paula Parejo speaking, and I will be introducing Jess in a little bit. But just to get us started, let's check out who exactly are BRCGS. So to give you a quick introduction to BRCGS, we provide rigorous and respected GFSI benchmark programs covering food safety, quality and regulation, compliance, and we also provide similar programs to support logistics, manufacturer of packaging, brokers, retailers, and specialty claim verification like gluten-free and plant-based. We ensure consistency through our world-class compliance program and provide essential information, systems, and opportunities for individuals to grow and improve their capabilities through Participate, Professional, and e-learning. If you've heard the phrase, use science for a safer world, that's us. And we're also celebrating our 25th anniversary. So why ethical trade and responsible sourcing? The question you may be asking yourselves is, why do we need to be talking about ethical trade and responsible sourcing? And why has BRCGS developed a standard for it? The fact is, specifiers and brands are increasingly aware of supply chain risks and need to demonstrate products that have been produced ethically without harming those producing them. Their customers are more concerned about the way that workers are treated during the manufacturing process and the processing of these products. that they buy and make more informed buying choices than ever before. So BRCGS saw an opportunity to provide a more holistic assurance offer, two sides of a coin, where it's not just about the physical features of the product, it's also about the non-physical attributes such as human rights and worker welfare. Connecting brand value and reputation. So this is a quote from one of the world's most famous business minds, Warren Buffett, the CEO of Berkshire Hathaway. In this insight, he suggests that anyone's reputation can quickly take a hit and to act with integrity. Otherwise, a whole business can be ruined easily with no matter like the effort that it has to build the actual reputation over the years. This is absolutely true of businesses who don't manage their ethical trade and responsible sourcing risks in their operation or their supplier chains, which fast become media stories that have the potential to really destroy brand reputations. So sustainable product sales in the US. Consumers have become more aware of issues like the quality of products, their safety, where they come from, who made them, how workers are treated, and the environmental impacts. Consumers are becoming more conscious and concerned about the impact that their buying behaviors have on the people that are involved in manufacturing that specific product. This makes consumers curious, and because they have access to so much information on the internet, they can research the products that they're thinking of buying within a space of 2 or 3 clicks of a mouse. This allows the conscious consumer to uncover stories of a product's manufacturer, and the transparency has empowered consumers to make more informed purchasing decisions, transforming the way that brands win, and more importantly, lose their trust. Next slide, please. To add to that, there has been a shift in shareholder focus and the increasing demand for transparency and responsible investment. Social responsible investors, or SRIs for short, encourage corporate practices that they believe promote good environmental stewardship, consumer protection, human rights, and diversity. Some SRIs avoid businesses that perceive to have negative social effects, such as tobacco, gambling, or fossil fuel production. These areas of concern are recognized by the SRI practitioners and are sometimes summarized under the heading of ESG issues: environment, social justice, and corporate governance. Over the last 10 years, there have been changes in legislation, which have significant implications for senior management teams, where they are legally obligated to manage issues such as modern slavery, human rights, and other corporate responsibility issues. In fact, under the human rights legislation displayed on this slide, if the senior management of businesses do not take demonstrable and consistent action to identify, manage, mitigate, and eliminate human rights risks in their supply chains, they will be personally liable for prosecution. That can result in criminal convictions and prison terms. The rise in this kind of legislation is in response to issues such as modern slavery, where the Global Slavery Index from 2016 estimated that over 40 million people are enslaved globally. Here are just a few examples of cases that have been in the media in recent years, highlighting the issue of modern slavery and how it impacts across businesses and society. In these instances, the victim of modern slavery will have had their human rights denied as a result of treatment such as forced labor. For example, they may have been trafficked from their homes to work in slave-like conditions against their will. And these are the specific headlines that you can look at and the statistics that have been offered by regular media outlets. I'm going to hand it over to Amy for our next poll question, and from there you will hear from my colleague, Jessica Burke.
Great, thanks so much, Paula. I do have another polling question for you all here. And that is, have you explored ethical certification with other GFSI program owners? Pretty simple one, yes or no. Vote however you feel. As I said before, if you missed the first half of the presentation, welcome. You're late, but that's okay. We will have the recording and the slides available from pgfsi.com after the broadcast has ended. And if you have any questions during the presentation, please feel free to type them right into the questions tab. Send those questions in and we will get to as many as possible during the Q&A at the end of the presentation. All right, thank you to everyone who participated in that poll. And here's how the voting went. So it looks like a couple have, but not the majority. All right, Jessica, I'm going to hand things back over to you and take it over whenever you're ready.
Okay, thank you, Amy. So based on all of the background that Paula provided, our response to these issues is the Ethical Trade and Responsible Sourcing, or for short, ETRS program. The program is made up of two separate products, the risk assessment and the global standard. The global standard is a full social audit and has its foundations in ILO conventions, the ETI base code, and the UN guiding principles for business and human rights. Unlike SMETA methodology, sites can be formally certified against the global standard and are showcased on the BRCGS directory, just like our sites that achieve product safety certification. In addition, certified sites are subject to an ongoing audit program of surveillance and recertification audits to ensure they're maintaining their conformity with the standards requirements. The risk assessment is a light touch diagnostic that provides a snapshot of a site's ethical trade and responsible sourcing performance. The risk assessment draws its focus from the global standard, but the two products are separate and are delivered differently. So to give you a bit more insight into the ETRS risk assessment, it really is a tool that's designed to help you to understand where there may be ethical trade and responsible sourcing risks in your site's operations and those of your suppliers. It's not a social audit, and it doesn't need to be conducted by a social compliance auditor. Rather, it provides a health check against the 5 vital signs of ethical trade and responsible sourcing that have been drawn from the global standard. It's conducted by a risk assessment trained product safety auditor and takes about 4 hours to complete, either as a bolt-on to a product safety audit or as a standalone exercise. It doesn't raise nonconformities or recommend corrective actions. Rather, it assesses a site's performance against the 5 vital signs, diagnosing where it may need to improve. Incidentally, the risk assessment is included in a BRCGS site's annual fee, so the cost of the risk assessment is simply the additional 4 hours of the auditor's time. So in the previous slide, I mentioned the 5 vital signs, and you may be wondering what that means. You'll be familiar with the senior management commitment requirement. That's at the heart of all BRCGS standards, and the risk assessment is no different. Senior management commitment is the #1 requirement because it ensures that ethical trade and responsible sourcing principles are embedded across an operation. The next 3 sections relate directly to the elimination of those ethical trade and responsible sourcing risks related to the fair treatment of workers, including paying the national minimum wage or the right to join a trade union, ensuring that the working environment is safe and healthy, protecting workers from physical or psychological harm or injury, and ensuring that workers' fundamental human rights and freedoms are respected alongside zero tolerance of human rights abuses, such as forced or bonded labor or human trafficking. The last section is around corporate governance, which includes prevention of bribery, corruption and fraud, as well as information security and data protection. The audit takes the form of a scored checklist at the end of which the company is given a score and some opportunities for improvement. There's no need to communicate with the certification body regarding corrective actions, and there is no certification. However, the fact that the risk assessment has been undertaken will be recorded on the BRCGS directory. Benefits of the ETRS risk assessment for sites are that it can be bolted on to product safety audits, meaning there's no separate visit for the risk assessment. It will provide an overview of how well ETRS risks are being managed, as well as a report that can be made available to customers on the BRCGS directory. The risk assessment is voluntary and doesn't have to be conducted every year, although to monitor performance, we do recommend that it's repeated annually. Benefits for buyers or specifiers are that it provides an overview of a site's performance on ETRS issues that they can access on the BRCGS directory with their site's permission. It highlights the potential risk areas that might impact on their brand or reputation and may feed into their wider due diligence activities. And it provides them with the justification to ask a supplier to undergo a full ethical audit against the global standard for ETRS if they're concerned by the findings of a risk assessment. Moving on to the ETRS standard. This is a full standard and sites can be certified against it if they meet all of the requirements and close all major or minor nonconformities arising from their initial certification audit. It's a management system standard focusing on the workers of food or non-food manufacturing, storage and distribution, or agents and brokers, whether they're permanent, temporary, subcontracted, or work through third-party labor provider. The scope of the standard is site-specific and includes all buildings, whether they are permanent or temporary, and there are no exclusions. The standard carries the same 5 core principles as the risk assessment, plus the requirement for an ethical trade and responsible sourcing management system. This means that to meet the requirements of the ETRS standard, a site must have an active ethical trade and responsible sourcing management system that's made up of policies, processes, and procedures relating to the labor standards, health and safety, human rights, as well as corporate governance. The management system should have continual improvement at its heart with clear objectives and targets that senior management regularly monitor. Workers and staff should be trained on all aspects of the management system and should know how its ETRS policies and procedures relate to them as individuals with rights as their job roles. We are currently working towards recognition against the Consumer Goods Forum's CCSI benchmark. CCSI, for those of you that don't know, is the social standards equivalent to the Global Food Safety Initiative's benchmark used for product safety standards like Food Safety Issue 8. By achieving the benchmark, it will recognize robustness and consistency in social standards and compliance management. By leveling the playing field across social standards, the SSCI benchmark will help specifiers to more easily approve and accept the different ones used by their suppliers, which should help to reduce audit duplication. And as with all BRCGS global standards, the ETRS standard is underpinned by our compliance management framework, which means that all major and minor nonconformities arising from audits must be closed before sites can be certified. Auditors must meet all the requirements of BRCGS's auditor competencies, ensuring they're qualified, trained, and approved to deliver the ETRS standard audits and audit quality, and all reports are monitored along with certification body performance. This ensures that BRCGS audits are of the highest quality possible and that audit reports are consistent and help to provide reliable insight into a site's ETRS management practices. To further enhance our compliance management, we're working with accreditation bodies and our approved certification bodies who audit against the global standard for ETRS on an accreditation project. The end result will see the first CBs to be accredited to ISO 17021, which is the management system equivalent to ISO 17065 for product safety. So in terms of the certification process, it involves a 2-stage process. The purpose of the stage 1 audit is to establish if a site is ready, which includes having an active ethical trade and responsible sourcing management system. The stage 1 audit is announced, and depending on maturity of the ETRS management system, may be remote or on-site. For example, if they've been audited against SMETA or SA 8000, it is likely that they have some or all of the components of the ETRS management system, and therefore the stage 1 could possibly be done remotely. This decision is made by the site certification body following a review of its application form, self-assessment questionnaire, and requested management system documentation. The stage 1 audit takes a day to complete, and at the closing meeting, the auditor will provide the site with a list of areas of concern that might result in non-conformities if the issues are not addressed by the stage 2 audit. If the site is ready, the auditor recommends the stage 2, the site proceeds to the stage 2 audit. The stage 2 audit is on site and it's unannounced, taking place a minimum of 14 days after the stage 1 audit. Before stage 2, the auditor will send the site an audit plan, which will disclose the 28-day audit window in which the stage 2 audit will take place. The audit may be conducted by one lead auditor, or if the site is large, they may be supported by one or more associate auditors. When the auditor arrives on site for stage 2, they will conduct the audit using a mix of documentation review, site tour, and worker interviews, which can be with individuals or in groups. At the closing meeting, the auditor will discuss their findings, what the site needs to do next in terms of closing the major and minor nonconformities, and will advise the site of their certification recommendation. Once the site has sent their evidence of corrective actions and preventative actions to show that their nonconformities are closed, which by the way needs to happen within 90 days of the stage 2 audit, the auditor will pass all the information on to the certification body's independent certification decision maker for review. If they're satisfied that the site has demonstrated that it has met all the requirements of the ETRS standard, they will then confirm certification. However, if a site is unable to close all their nonconformities within 90 days, their audit report will receive a temporary grade between B and to D. If the site is then able to close the outstanding nonconformities within 6 months of their audit, there's still a chance that they may become certificated. If not, their audit report grade expires after a year, and then they will need to have a new initial certification audit. So after initial certification, sites will then enter into an unannounced audit program consisting of annual surveillance audits in years 1 and 2 to monitor their ongoing conformity with the standard. In year 3, the recertification audit will take place where the auditor will follow a similar audit process to the initial certification audit to reconfirm their certificate. So in terms of activities that you can expect to take place during an ETRS audit, you can expect things like interviews with workers, worker representatives and managers, review of safety records, confirmation of working hours, review of sample of wages, examination of recruitment and disciplinary procedures, and an appraisal of the Right to Work program. So that gives you sort of a brief introduction to the ETRS program. And if you have any questions, please feel free to type them in the question box or reach out to us at a later time.
All right, thank you so much, Jessica. Before we get into the Q&A, I do have one last polling question for you all. And that just has to do with what topics you might like to see in future webinars. So just choose whichever one you're most interested in. We're always open to more webinar ideas. So if you have a specific topic or maybe even a speaker that you think would be a good addition to the PeterFSI webinar roster, reach out to us. You can find contact information at peterfsi.com. And just to go over some upcoming webinar information, we do have quite a few webinars scheduled in the coming months. Next Tuesday, we have a FSVP and FSMA detailed overview, a recap of 2020 and expectations for 2021 with Jen Crandall, the CEO and co-founder of Safe Food en Route. And then Thursday of next week, we have Managing Risk During a Product Crisis with Nishat Sufi from the JIT Experts Hive. And the week of March 4th on Thursday, we have a brand owner perspective of elevating your food safety, the when, where, and why. So we do encourage you all to join us for those upcoming webinars. They are free to register, so go ahead and visit our website to learn more and see the full list. This is only the next 3. As I said before, we have plenty more where these came from that you could register for in advance. And I'm going to go ahead and check out and see what questions you've submitted. So as I said before, please feel free, send us any and every question that you might have thought of. Doesn't necessarily have to be strictly related to the topic today. If you have general questions about BRCGS, I'm sure Jessica would be able to answer them. But let's see, all right, we've got a question here from Jim about what kind of audits can the RA be bolted onto, Jessica?
Yeah, sure. So basically, the risk assessment can be bolted on to any GFSI benchmarked certification or a management system certification, such as ISO 9000, ISO 14K, etc.
Awesome. Let's see. Oh, there's a follow-up question from Jim about the ETRS. Does the ETRS cover environmental impact?
It does not actually. The standard is a social and ethical audit. So as I mentioned, it covers things like senior management commitment, the ETRS management system, labor standards, health and safety, respect for human rights and corporate governance. So yeah, it doesn't cover environmental impact. It's all about the people.
All right, let's see here. Great questions. Keep them coming in. Let's see, we've got a question here from Alice. She's asking, is the full ETRS standard offered as a bolt-on to my food safety audit?
So unfortunately, no. The ETRS standard is very different from the food safety standard, and they do cover very different requirements and auditor skill sets even. So because of that, there's no bolt-on option for the full standard. However, as I mentioned earlier, the risk assessment can certainly be bolted on to your product safety standard audit.
All right, thanks so much. Let's see. This is one that Paul might be able to help with. Is there any training for the ETRS or the risk assessment available currently?
Yeah, good question. We are not running any public courses, but we could certainly do one on site for you, or at least virtually on site. So feel free to reach out to me and I would be more than happy to discuss that with you.
Jessica, do you know of any training through BRCGS for the standards?
Yeah, we do. We are offering virtual training for both the risk assessment and the full ETRS standard. So you can check out our website. There's a page specifically for all of our training, and everything that we have is all offered virtually right now.
And to add to that as well, we can also do in-house training.
Perfect. So there's plenty of options out there. Yeah, I was going to say personally, I had not heard of the ETRS prior to this webinar being added to the roster. How new is it?
So it had originally launched issue 1. We launched it in 2019, but we've recently updated it to incorporate some feedback that we received from different stakeholders. So this particular version had just launched at the beginning of this year.
All right, great. I'm not seeing any other questions. If you've got them, quickly type them in, send them over. We'd love to answer any curiosity you might have regarding the standard. Any parting words before we wrap things up, Jess?
No, other than just to say, thank you very much, everyone, for your time and allowing us to speak with you today. And thank you, Amy and Paul, for having us back again for one of your famous webinars.
I didn't realize our webinars were famous.
I didn't either. Wow, that's great to hear.
I mean, I'm glad to hear it.
You guys are very aggressive in a good way.
Well, I'll check that out to Paul. He's the grand planner here. I just execute. All right. I didn't see any other questions coming in. So if you do have any that occur to you, or if you have any troubles finding the recording or the slides on our website, do feel free to reach out. As I said before, contact information is at pjrfsi.com. And if you have any other thoughts, comments, concerns, please, we'd love to hear feedback. So go ahead and shoot that off to us anytime. But with that, I will go ahead and wrap things up for today. So thank you all for coming. Thank you, Jess and Paula for joining us for the presentation. Always great to have you. And I'll just encourage everyone to stay safe, stay healthy, and especially stay warm out there if you're in the areas affected by all this snow we've been having. So hopefully we'll see you all in the next webinar. Thank you all so much and have a great day.